What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a very simple step-by-step tutorial for this subtle natural glam look. So for all my beginners, if you want to know how to make your eyes pop like this, then keep on watching. So today I am going to be using this Twilight Dusk palette that I purchased from Qingbeautyshop. Yeah, well, you can kind of see it actually. It looks pretty good, but first thing we want to do is to prime the eyes. You want to accomplish a smooth look and you want your look to last throughout the whole night, and also you want to make sure the colors really show up. Because we're going with a brown look, I am just going to use my concealer, this Revolution Conceal and Define, which is a little bit lighter than my skin tone, and so it's definitely going to just create a nice even palette here that I can create my look on, but it's not going to be totally whitewashed. I don't want to overdo this because if it's too creamy, too cakey, you're going to have a hard time setting your lid. So now that we've done that, we can go back into blazing, and now we're applying it as an actual transition shade. So I would say dip into it maybe 6 or so times. This is very important for a transition shade. You want to tap off the excess, because once your transition shade is too prominent, it's going to be very hard to create sort of a blown out effect. The key is to go in with a very light hand. You don't just want to put it on there. Very light so that you're barely touching it. And start in the outer corner. The reason why I start in the outer corner is because that's going to be the darkest place anyway. So if I mess up out here, that's going to get covered up. And if I have too much on my brush, I get it all out before I get to the area that really needs to be precise. So I start out there, and then I move forward. Or inward, I should say. To build up that transition shade just a little bit more, always starting in my outer corner and doing sort of circular motions to really get a nice, even, blown out look on that shade. Now, so for this look, I know that I want the primary color here to be this shade, which is called Nefertiti. Okay, so now that I've done my transition shade, I need to put something in this crease area to kind of darken it up a little bit, but I don't want to get to my main color yet. So that means I need to pick something that's between the transition shade, which we find over here, and the main shade, Nefertiti. So some good options would be either Saffron or Cosmo. So I think I'm gonna go into Cosmo here, and I'm gonna place that in my crease. Now you want a relatively small brush for this because you don't want it to go too far outside of the crease. So this is another fluffy brush. This is the Morphe M330 brush. I only dipped twice, and it's definitely on there, so you want to be very sure that you're tapping off the excess. So again, I'm going to start in the outer corner because that's going to be the darkest, and I'm just going to start applying that shade. And then circular motions again. And you're seeing it start to kind of deepen up a little bit. I'd always say as a beginner, start slow, because once you have too much on there, it's like you can't go back. Combine this circular pattern with the windshield wiper motion, because I find that when I just do windshield wiper, I end up with a lot of lines in my looks that's harder to blend out. And this sort of rounded motion really helps to diffuse it well from the application, so that you don't have to work as hard later to blend. So the crease is the area you're really going to want to build up. We're actually going to end up putting a darker color in there at some point. But for now, let's stick with our crease shade, which again was Cosmo. And as you do your eye makeup, you're going to see that things that you've already done are going to need to be adjusted or touched up or whatever the case may be. That's okay. At the end, we're most likely going to go back and reestablish our transition shade, so it's all good. Alright, so at this point, we have a very, very light base of what our look is going to be. Now it's time to go into our main color, our main shade, okay? And so because I want this to come off pretty strong, I'm still using a small brush, but it's not quite as fluffy. It's a little bit more dense. That gives me the opportunity to pack it on a little bit. And I am going to go into the shade Nefertiti. Okay? So I'm going to do 2 dips. What it's looking like. Okay? So this is where you need to be the most careful. Basically, as your colors get darker, you need to take the most caution. And so you need to apply very lightly. I'm not tapping it off though, because I do want this color to be present. So because I want this color more on my lid for now, I'm going to just go ahead and just place it there, because I know for a fact I want this area down here to be pretty concentrated with that color. Alright, so now that I have some of this color in the outer corner, I want to put a little bit of it in the crease. Remember, we want to deepen up the crease. The crease is where we really get some dimension in our makeup looks. So I'm just going to take that inward. And again, try to do those circular motions. So now I'm going to get a very, very fluffy brush. If you want to get the specific one, it's the Morphe M535. I highly recommend Morphe brushes. They are easy to use, easy to identify, and their quality. So this is a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to use this to kind of buff out the edges again. And a trick, especially for brown skin girls, is when you're doing more natural, neutral looks, an eyeshadow that has a slightly orange hint to it is going to be a really great transition shade, and that's why I used Blazing in the beginning. So we're going to go back to Blazing, you can see it there, and just kind of reapply it to the outer areas so that we still have that transition into our main color. The next thing that we're going to do is apply our shimmer. I'm honestly just going to use my fingers. That's easiest for me. because what we have going on in the eyes kind of has like a purplish brownish hue to it, we're gonna play into that a little bit. So I think I'm going to start on the outer edge. I'm gonna start with amber, and then we're gonna move inward to this color, which is like Oud, O-U-D, I don't know. So I'm gonna start in this central area here where you see there's kind of a lack of color. So it's definitely very pigmented. I'm gonna put the majority of it there. Then I'm gonna start kind of going in circles and moving outwards towards this color on the end, because I don't want to totally overwhelm it, but I do want the two to kind of come to be one. So now I'm gonna go into Oud over here. I'm gonna dip my finger and I'm gonna go in this inner area. And I'm gonna put it most concentrated inward and then just start to kind of buff it outward. And I'm gonna do the same on the other side. So at this point, you, after you have kind of dabbed at it a little bit and done the first job of sort of blending the colors together, you want to take your fluffy brush again and just lightly go over the surface to bring all that together. Okay? Now, you always want to make sure there's a space between the end of your eyeshadow and your eyebrow, because that's where your highlight is going to go, and highlight is another element that just makes an eye look go to the next level. So I've applied a little bit more of that color, and I just want to buff it out so that it stays nice and hazy and doesn't have any harsh edges on it. I think it looks so beautiful when you create sort of a darkness or a deeper color in this outer corner and in the crease. So you have to be very careful about how you do this, but believe me, it's very, very easy. I'm going to take this brush that I used earlier to apply Nefertiti because that's my main color. Adding more of this on the outer corner and the crease is not going to mess anything up because that color is already there. And what I'm going to be doing is adding the slightest bit of black. So I'm going into this cashmere shade down here. One dip. You have to be very careful with the black. One dip, okay? That's it. At a time, you know. You can always adjust as you see fit. You see how it's created kind of a slightly darker, brownish, burgundy-ish shade? That's what we want. That's going to be gorgeous. So, you want to lightly apply. And you see how it's already taken it into this sort of rich, almost burgundy-ish color. When you create that dimension in this crease and outer corner area, it just takes the look to the next level. And I'm going to move inward a little bit. So now, take my fluffy brush and just make sure that those edges are soft. I am going to be going into my waterline with just any black eyeliner, it's fine, on the outer edge. This is where it's the darkest. And you want to have a very light hand. If you have a small flat brush, any brush like this, that'll do the trick. So I'm going back into our main sort of burgundy-ish, brownish, purplish color, Nefertiti. One dip. And I'm going to apply that on the lower lash line. Next thing that you need to do to really is your inner corner highlight and a highlight underneath the brow bone. I am going to go with the light color that I used today, Oud. If you want, I'm going to just dip my finger in and go for it. Yeah. Alright, but for the brow bone, I definitely go in with a brush. And just in that space that you left, apply it. Until you start to see, you know, that shimmery look. Very last step is going to be to apply our lashes. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using these lashes from Dollar Lash Club in the style Cassie. And I am going to be using, I recommend any beginner use this Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive in the color Clear. Alright guys, so this is the finished look. When you put the lashes on, it takes the look to the next level. So even if you create like a 5 out of 10 look, when you get the right lashes on, people are going to be like, girl. And then you also have the rest of your face. So I'm really hoping that my beginners found this video helpful. Let me know down below if this was a video that you liked, you were able to follow along. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.